Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. This evening, just no members to the public due to COVID-19. We are virtual. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none, we do have a confidential item, so we will be moving into confidential. The confidential item reads that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to section 239-2 of the Municipal Act 2001. That A, Treasurer Director of Finance Donna DeFilippis, confidential report RFD T11-21, section 357, 358, 359 applications, applicable closed session exemptions, personal matters about an unidentifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. B, CAO Bev Henry, the Treasurer Director of Finance Donna DeFilippis, legal matters, Niagara Peninsula Energy Incorporated and Peninsula West Power Incorporated. Applicable closed session exempt, the security of the property municipality, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, information, trade or secret, scientific, technical, commercial, financial information that belongs to the municipality and has monetary value. So I need a mover to go into closed. Mayor Bylsma, seconded by Councillor Bradrick, and we shall head into closed. So I'll see you guys there. Recommendation that this committee meeting now does resume in open session, so I need a mover for that. Councillor Ganand, seconded by Councillor Riley. All those in favor? And that carries. And we do have a closed session directive. Madam Clerk, could you please read that out?
Sorry.
When you have a chance, no rush.
That report T11-2021 regarding section 357, 358, 359 applications dated April 19th, 2021 be received, and that the list of applications as contained in Appendix A to report T11-2021 be approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You guys heard the closed directive. Need a mover for that? Councillor Ganand, seconded by Councillor Bradrick. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So we will
we have a
resume.
second one as well,
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
sorry, Madam Clerk. I completely forgot. Go ahead, read that out.
Okay. The second item, that the CAO be and is hereby authorized to proceed as directed in closed session with respect to a legal matter relating to Niagara Peninsula Energy Incorporated and Peninsula West Power Incorporation, and report back to a future committee or council meeting.
Thank you. You heard the other second closed directives. I need a mover for that. Councillor Yonker, seconded by Councillor Riley, or Mr. Mayor, sorry, Councillor Riley. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, a little slow to the punch there, but Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll now move on to the rest of the agenda. It seems that Councillor Rayner had some technical difficulties and he has not been back. So I guess we will continue on, and if he does appear, we will notify that he has appeared. But at this moment, we will move on to back into the portion of the Administration Finance Committee meeting. Moving on to, again, I'm your chair, Jason Trombetta. So we'll move on to item A28-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Mrs. Donna DeFilippis. Sorry, that's wrong. These are the closed directives, sorry. So I'll move on to number 4. Sorry about that. Any changes in orders and item on the agenda? None. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest again? None. There are no appointments. Is there anybody in the gallery? Mrs. Keith, if anybody wants to request any items on the agenda?
There are none, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda items. Item A30-21, consent agenda items. The recommendation, Administration Finance hereby approve the following consent agenda items. Number 1, be and hereby receive that the recommendations contained thereon be adopted, and that number 2 and 3 are hereby and receive for information with the exceptions of, and there's none. Number 1 is recommendation report C-03 2021 refreshment cart license and lease portion of the CIBC parking lot. Ken Brunaccioni, Dog Got It, hot dog cart. Number 2, West Lincoln Age Friendly Advisory Committee, minutes of March 6, 2020, and information report WLFD 0721, monthly updated March 2021. I need anybody like to pull anything? No, I'd like to pull item number 1. I'd like to pull. So we will vote on if I'm able to pull. I need a mover. Well, I'll move till I pull number 1. I need a seconder to pull number 1 if that's possible. Councillor Riley, all those in favor for me to pull number 1, I guess? Do I have to vote?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I didn't hear who moved it.
I move to pull it, Madam Clerk, seconded by Councillor Riley.
No, you can't move a
Oh,
resolution
sorry.
as chair.
Okay,
Sorry.
I was hoping that somebody can pull it for me. So, Mr.
I
Mayor,
can help you out here, Jason. I'll pull number 1.
perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nobody wants to step up to the plate, so.
Yeah, I had my hand up. You're not looking.
Sorry, everybody. So, Mr. Mayor pulled number 1, and Councillor Riley seconded seconded for number 1. So
Wait,
all those.
wait,
So I don't think we have to worry about that right yet, Jason.
No.
yes.
So sorry, everybody. I'm a little off my game, I guess, eh? It's okay. You can call me out. That's fine. So we'll vote on number 2 and number 3 at the moment.
Yes.
So we'll vote on number 2 and number 3. All those in favor?
You're gonna need a mover in a second.
Oh, sorry, I move her way off my game. I saw Councillor Ganan, seconded by Councillor Riley. All those in favor? And that carries. Thanks for the help, Council Committee. Now we'll move on to number 1.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Mayor, seconded by Councillor Riley. Thank you. Okay, I guess I'll speak to it. It's very simple since I wanted to pull it. I brought this up at our pre-agenda. This is something that's been sitting with me for years, who sat on me with council. I find this is very, again, I don't know what we have to change, but I find that this is something that we've had to pass these licenses all the time before, and I don't know why we're passing all these cart refreshment licenses. So those who have sat with me know that I think this is something that should be done by staff. I don't know why this needs to come to council all the time. And I know, while digging some history on it, that this was just previous council that wanted, I guess, control on every little bit of what happens on all these things. But I think staff is very, very good enough to approve these licenses. So can I just get some guidance on this? How do we remove council from approving all these licenses, if possible? So anybody want to touch that? Anybody?
Yes, I
Madam
can,
Clerk?
Mr. Chair. So this is a policy that council in 2010 approved, and it does require council's approval to authorize a refreshment cart. Now, the second part of this item is a lease agreement, as Doggone It has leased a portion of the Smithville Parkette or the CIBC parking lot for his refreshment cart. So there is 2 parts to this application. It doesn't mean that all applications are the same. It's only because he does rent a portion of the lands from the township for his cart. Now, I can change the policy with respect to the refreshment cart and bring back a report to council to remove that section of the policy. So it should be formalized in a report with a recommendation in order to do that. However, the lease agreement part, I guess I need direction, but we would still have to pass a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the lease agreement, as any signatures do require an authorizing bylaw.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councillor Riley, and then I got the mayor.
I kind of wonder, so through you, maybe back to the clerk, maybe instead of repealing the bylaw, is it possible to create a longer expiry date? So this isn't like something that's annually. So is this something that we can do for like 5 years, and then we can still have it in the underwriting? It can be revoked at any time by any council, but that way it doesn't necessarily mean that another council in the future starts back and we go in this hacksaw back and forth and decision making. But it at least gives a little bit more time where staff can revisit. They still have to, I don't know if we do it for a 5 year and they still reply and it's already approved for 5 years, or if it's just it's good for 5 years unless otherwise noted. So I'm just wondering through you, Mr. Chair, to our clerk, if that would be maybe a little bit less laborsome itself in the policy, and if we can just kind of add that amendment, if that would be easier.
Again, I'll take my direction from council. I think I understand you would like a 5-year
Or whatever. I
or
just suggested a
refresher
number.
chart? Yeah. Okay, and then, but the only thing is, again, it is, in this situation, it is a 2-part approval. There is the portion of the lease agreement, which we negotiated, and Mr. I can't think his name right now, but the
Brunatoni.
yeah, he does pay a monthly fee to lease those lands. And again, that was negotiated between staff and him, and it was presented to council for consideration. The amount hasn't changed in the last 2 years. Again, if you would like to give him, approval for the next 5 years, whatever you choose, and it takes care of both issues, I am good with that as well. We can pass the bylaw that he would have that approval for 5 years.
Okay. Okay. I'll leave it there.
I just need a direction, that's all.
Okay. I'll leave that
Thank you.
there for now. See where the conversation goes. I might come back
Okay.
and present that.
Great, thank you, Councilor Riley. Mr. Mayor, then I got Councilor Ganan.
Okay, so, I mean, so the first thing I want to bring up is that sometimes we do have problems with these temporary carts. And 5 years is a very long time. And if we consider something that's happened in the past, that would have been untenable. So I like this. I'm going to push back a little bit against you, Mr. Chair, and I do so with all due respect, but these are in consent agenda, and we do end up speaking quite a bit about them because you pull them. And really, it is quite straightforward, and which is why it ends up in consent. But if you keep pulling them to discuss them, we always have these discussions that become so it is a bit of a catch-22. We do need, the clerk has said, we do need a signing authority on there. So it's going to come into consent agenda. We don't need to discuss this each time. If it's in consent, we just see it there. We just take note of it. And like the whole reason is consent is they're considered non-controversial and can be passed when run resolution, as it says. So I'm kind of on the horns of a dilemma because we do talk about them because you pull them. And I only mean to kind of say that don't pull them. You have every right to pull it, but as a piece of advice, if you don't pull it, we don't have the discussion, and it comes up every year. And I think that's a really good thing, a mechanism, because if we have a problem where one is being a little delinquent, we don't have to break a contract and those kind of things, even though, so I have no problem at all having these tucked into consent agenda, and we just don't pull them. And unless we have a problem with them, in which case 5 years is way too long. So those are a couple of my points. And again, sir, I mean, no disrespect. It's just, it's funny because you have brought it up 3 or 4 times.
None taken, Mr. Mayor, but this is you're kind of alluding to the point why I'm allowed to pull it. If it's on the agenda, we wouldn't have to pull it because this is something that is there for us to discuss. Just like when there's minutes, there's things inside minutes that other members of committee have pulled, and this is a chance where you can pull them. If there's something that is just not, again, we are the governing body to approve these, so we have every right, and even though it is under consent agendas, we have the right to see and to pull them to have discussion. So my thing is, and it's not about this specific individual. I've had Ken's hot dogs, they're great, but we did have an instance where it got very controversial with members of council. Half of council were approving of one before, and half of council was not, and it got very controversial. So my point of the matter, and I think you might be missing the point here, is that you take it away so these instances don't become political. I'm trying to save this from being political, like we had the instance before. And the reason why it's becoming political is because it's on and it should be approved by staff and staff only. Councillor Gann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do agree with you in terms of keeping it from being a political football. However, I'm going to give a little pushback on the 5-year term, simply because I was also on council the last term when we had to deal with a situation where it changed hands. The business changed hands and the standards totally changed. And it became not only a political football, but a really big divisive thing in our municipality in terms of what's going on. So I'm sort of sitting here on the fence. I don't mind extending, the courtesy to say Mr. Brunicioni for a 2-year phase kind of thing. That means we see how it works 1 year, and if there's been no problems, he automatically gets the 2nd year. If there's a way to do that kind of thing, I just really want to be careful about how long and whether there's some kind of a provision for what happens if this changes hands, which is what happened in the last instance. The business changed hands, and certainly the standards changed as well. So we do have to be careful. Thank you.
Councillor Yonker, go ahead.
Yeah, to you, Mr. Chair. Can I just make a suggestion then that you reach out to the clerk later on and ask how can I put a proposal together to put this on a meeting to discuss how we can have stuff like this get approved by staff. And I think we just approve it tonight, and then can I suggest that you reach out to staff and ask, can I put a motion on a meeting to how we can figure out how to let things like this get approved by staff, and we can move on tonight. But I do agree with you, but I also agree with the mayor. At the end of the day, you know what, we can just do in a consent item, good, it's approved, or but yeah, I understand what you're saying as well. So I can just like to make a suggestion that you reach out to staff and ask them to put this forward in a meeting where we can discuss saying certain things we can, staff can approve of. And we can.
Thank you for the tip there, Councillor Yonker. I appreciate it. Councillor Riley?
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, when I threw that number out, it was just kind of off the top of my head. And I think, even as far as I think what you were even trying to do, and hopefully I'm not putting words in your mouth, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I think you were trying to find a way that was going to actually be one less thing for staff to have to worry about, and kind of like streamline things and just kind of help improve efficiency. So on that being said, I certainly think we could consider the 2-year. To what Councillor Yonker was suggesting, I don't think there's any reason to have to put this off to another night by any means either. I think we can be efficient here and bring this forward right now, that staff maybe report back on this at another meeting. We don't necessarily have to hammer out the details. We approve this as is, and then maybe have staff report back to us on what that looks like. If we did 2 years, let's say, we could go with that. That probably seems more realistic as a starting point, and then we revisit it after 2 years and learn if there was any hiccups, learn from that. But I would suggest that if we're going to do this at all, and I have no problem bringing it forward because I understand that you're in the chair position, so you can't do so, but I would suggest that we kind of refer that back. I see the clerk's hand up, so she might have something to contribute here, so I'll leave that to her, see what she has to say. Sorry.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Councillor Riley, I do have an amendment that I have prepared that would allow, and actually another, we could add to the end of the resolution as well. So my amendment would be that recommendation 2 and 3 be amended to add the following words after the word approved for a period of 2 years. And that would be in both cases as to the refreshment cart license, as well as the lease agreement on the CIBC Smith Parkett lands. An additional recommendation could be added to the end, that staff be directed to bring back a report to a future committee meeting that would allow staff to approve refreshment cart licenses.
I like that very much. I'll move that.
Could I get a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Gann. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Thank you. And that carries. Now, do I have to approve, go as amended back to the original,
Yes.
Madam Clerk? Yeah.
Yes.
So number 1 that was moved by Mayor Bosma and seconded by Councillor Riley, I think.
Mhm.
The recommendation report C03-2021 refreshment card license and lease portion of the CIBC parking lot, Ken Bernaccioni, doggone it, hot dog cart. You seeing that? All those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to communication.
As amended. Mr.
As amended, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
as amended. Moving on to communications. Staff reports, item A 31-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Donna DeFilippis, information report T12-2021, financial update as of March 31st, 2021. The recommendation, the report T12-2021 regarding the financial update as of March 31st, 2021, dated April 19th, 2021, be received for information. I need a mover for that. Councillor Ganand, seconded by Councillor Broderick. All those in favor? Any comments or questions? Sorry, first, none? All those in favor? That carries. Moving on to other business, item A 32-21, Mayor Dave Bosma, employee professional accomplishments, A, Bev Hendry, CAO, the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, CAMA, Long Service Recognition Award, 15 years of municipal service in a management capacity, a recognition letter. Mr. Mayor, do you want to speak to anything about this?
Well, yes, I do actually. And we don't often get to brag about our CAO, but our own Bev Hendry did get the long service recognition pin for her 15 years of service as a CAO. And I had a letter from Jake Rudolph. I think it's available to everybody, but he basically also was additionally pleased that Bev has been on the board for 4 years and is currently the treasurer of CAMA. So we would like to heartily extend congratulations to Bev for this accomplishment. And I can speak on behalf of myself, and I think council will chime in here, but we really appreciate your service to us, and we're glad that we have the ability to draw upon this 15 years of experience. So congratulations, Madam CAO.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Where's the pin? Can we see it?
I think they mailed it to her.
Sorry.
Next
The
meeting.
pin is at the office and it's
Okay.
cute.
I thought maybe you would have it on tonight. Sorry about that, Madam Chair.
Honestly, I
Not to put you on
should
the
have.
spot.
I should have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that, and thank you, Madam CAO. Moving on to item A 33-21, Councillor Broderick, Council Advocate. Sorry, 1 second. My computer froze. Council Advocate, Niagara Region, to increase childcare in the Township of West Lincoln. For discussion, the recommendation that Council of the Township of West Lincoln send a letter to the Niagara Region's Clerk Office, request to the Township's correspondence be included on the next Region Public Health and Social Services Committee agenda to formally request a consideration be given to increase childcare services in the Township of West Lincoln, including the reasons for such request, and that another letter be prepared from the Council of the Township of West Lincoln to be sent to Regional Councillor Albert Witteveen, requesting for his follow-up on behalf of the municipalities and our shared constituents with respect to the Township's request for the need of increased childcare services in West Lincoln, and that both letters be drafted by Councillor Shelley Broderick and that reviewed by all members of the Township Council prior to being signed by the mayor and forwarded to the Regional Clerk's Office and Regional Councillor Witteveen, respectively. So I need a mover for that. Councillor Broderick, and seconded by Councillor Riley. And comments or questions, I'll go to you, Councillor Broderick. Would you like to speak to this that you're bringing? So I'll go to you first.
Thank you, Chair. I'm excited to bring this forward to Council, as creating and providing early learning and childcare opportunities for children have been my professional passion for the last 38 years. In fact, I was present at the signing of the Interprovincial Childcare Agreement in 2005 with Prime Minister Paul Martin and the Honourable Ken Dryden. Research shows us that children who benefit from early learning enter school more prepared, Both technical skills like literacy, numeracy, and soft skills like discipline, interpersonal skills, and self-control are higher in children who experience early learning than their peers. While technical skills may be caught up over time, the cost to the education system can be significant. Meanwhile, the soft skills benefited from early learning and childcare gives an advantage to children throughout their education. We also know that the pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on low-income families. Access to early learning and childcare would combat inequality in the short term by letting these families get more out of their careers, and in the long term by giving children a good start on their educational journey. The benefits of early learning is maximized when the classroom has children from all socioeconomic backgrounds, which is why access is so important. And this, Chair, is why I am bringing forward this letter to be sent on behalf of Council to the region of Niagara so that the community of West Lincoln can access good quality licensed programs for children from birth to 12 years of age in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. Thank you for that report. I saw Councillor Riley with your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I start by thanking Councillor Broderick for bringing this forward. I think this is, outstanding, and certainly any way we can lobby for, more childcare or anything to deal with improving our current need of childcare in our community, and all the efforts around that, I think, certainly need to be done. I guess my only, not so much a question, but requested amendment is, I for what you guys, I don't know how many you remember, but back in December of 2018, it was Councillor Ganane and myself who had brought back a letter to be sent to Hamilton Health Scientists. And the reason I bring that up is at the bottom of the letter, we had it like, as Mayor Bylsma's name's there. And then we also had like on behalf, I have it in front of me here, I have it, that we also had on behalf of the council for the Township of West Lincoln. And I kind of, as I'm seeing more of these emails come out, we see more things come from other municipalities, I'm noticing something else. And I think it's important that we kind of show that, that not just having one person represent everybody, but having all of our names and stamps on that. And so my question, or not so much question, my request is, can we, on the letter that actually gets sent out, can we all have our names on it? So it certainly looks like it's endorsed through the entire municipality, not just someone saying, oh, also on behalf of these people, but actually identify who we are. I think that's just really important to really have that out. So I personally would like to see that little tweak in the letter. Otherwise, I think it's fantastic. But I guess we can have a conversation here real quickly, but that would be my one friendly amendment I would suggest to the letter would be actually having all of our names on, including Councillor Broderick's name, of course. But I think it's just something that we should all be able to take pride in. So.
Thank you for that, Councillor Riley. Do you want to need an answer for that, Councillor Riley, or you just wanted a recommendation?
I guess, granted that Councillor Broderick's all right with the idea, I would just put that under Mayor Bylsma's name, maybe just alphabetical order. We can just go Councillor and then ... like all of our names underneath it, and then the mayor still can sign it, or whoever needs to sign it can still sign it. But I just think that would be just add a little bit extra support behind it. So I think that would be, if we can have that, that would be great. I don't know how I bring that particular amendment forward, if it's just a request to put our names and allow the clerk to play with that after the fact, or if we actually have to have a resolution amendment for that spelt out that way.
Madam Clerk, can you just add to that? If you can put our names alphabetically. I think Councillor Riley wants my name at the end of it. That's why, because it ends with T. So.
That's for last.
Yes. Through you, Mr. Chair, I can take that as direction. It doesn't have to be added to the letter. I'll take it as direction to include all members of council's name on the letter. And it would be, just because I do have the mayor's signature, don't have everyone else's. I hope it's okay to just have him sign it, but have all of your names included.
And to be clear, I wasn't looking for all of us to sign it by any means. Like, his signature is fine. I just think it's important to actually have our names behind it. So unless someone opposes to having their name on it, then don't let that be, a reason to just be forced to it. You have the right to withdraw. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd happily have my name on this.
I saw this Madam CAO had her hand up there, and then I have Councillor Ganane.
This is a suggestion, like a CC list of them, of the other members of council. Would that suffice?
I was just going to have the names underneath. I've seen it in a couple other of the letters there, and I thought it looked, very classy from each municipality to identify the people who actually are behind and supporting these types of letters. So again, it would just be just a simple, you got the mayor's names first, and then alphabetically can just go down from there. That would be my suggestion. I don't think you need to CC anybody.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Riley. Madam Clerk, you did make a point there, like if, taking that everyone is supportive of this, do you have to reach out to everyone to see if they are supportive with their name on it, or with through email correspondence, I guess, or just how does it work with that? I'm in support of it as well. I just don't know if members of this committee are, so I'll have to wait for the vote, but then there's somebody also that's missing as well, right? So.
I can, I would say that if you're not in support, that you please advise me at council next Monday evening. And then I can change.
Okay.
The letter will not go out until Tuesday. So if there is any concerns about having your name, add it to the end of the letter, then please advise me at Monday night's council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I got Councillor Gannon and then Councillor Jonker.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to also thank Councillor Broderick for bringing this forward. Most of you know that I taught kindergarten for the last 25 years of my teaching career. And for certain, there was a huge, huge difference in the readiness for formal learning between children who had had some other experience somewhere. And we know very well that there's been very little of that in West Lincoln. I will give a plug to Cindy, who is our CEO of the library right now, and that the libraries have tried to fill that gap as much as possible over the years with as many story times and activity programs for children. But not all parents are able to take advantage of that opportunity either. And so today I noticed that in the budget coming down from the federal government, there was a bigger nod financially to certainly looking at the cost of daycare and looking at moving towards something. We know through our recovery as well that it is the moms of many of those little ones who need to get back to work if we're going to get our economy up and running again. And so there are many, many circles, benefits to the children, benefits to family, benefits to our overall recovery. And certainly it's time to be a bit more proactive about this. I think as in West Lincoln, we've just kind of sat back and been happy that we had the co-op nurseries that we have. And we have more people now, more people struggling to find good, solid places for their children to have proper daycare and proper opportunities. And so I think that it is time for us to get on board and be in support of that. So thank you, Councillor Broderick, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Gannon. We did lose the mayor. He had some internet trouble, so he has popped off. He's trying to reboot. So just FYI, Madam Clerk and Madam CAO. Councillor Jonker, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry if I'm a little naive when it comes to childcare and how it does work, but I know there is I guess there's a private sector that sometimes will run a childcare and all that works, and so I don't understand how all that works, but I definitely can understand, like it does seem like we're missing that here in West Lincoln, as you see in other towns. There's a daycare. As kids, my parents, we're janitors at a daycare center in where we grew up. So but I just can't remember. Like it's basically, I guess the kind of the question I'm asking is we could ask the government, but at the end of the day, somebody still has to open up a daycare center. Is that kind of how it would work? And just on that's through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Broderick. And then secondly, just to point out, number 3 is both letters are to be drafted by Councillor Broderick, not staff, from my understanding, right? But we've been talking that our clerk is going to be doing it. But so just those 2 questions, kind of give me a little bit of history on how daycares work and how something would start up, and then also, yeah. Maybe you can answer the question on number 3 that you're writing the letters.
Thank you, Councillor Jonker. Councillor Broderick, if you can respond.
Yes, of course. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Jonker, thank you for the question. So your first question was about childcare and how does that all get started. So there's 2 to 3 components to childcare. One is privately run, for-profit, licensed childcare programs. There is not-for-profit organizations that are licensed operations for children. There's also non-licensed in-home childcare. There's also licensed home childcare, which is usually operated by an organization that works along with in-home care providers to support them in providing quality home childcare. So I did reach out to Darlene Edgar. She is the Director of Children's Services for the region of Niagara. Darlene and I are colleagues professionally and do know each other at an arm's length over our careers, have passed together multiple times. And so we did a review of what was available out in our area and looked at attendance as reported by the various organizations. And there's no program for children, very young children up till the age of school age. There is a program at St. Martin's School. It's a privately operated program for children 2.5 till they go to school, and as well as the Y operates a program before and after school at Smithville Public School. So you're right, there would need to be somebody that will take that on. Now, the region is really what coordinates kind of all of the childcare within Niagara, and dollars do flow depending on what is available and where. Now, as Councillor Ganan alluded to in the budget today, there is some big dollars coming down from the federal government, and you know, we'll be part of the stimulus post-pandemic to try to get people back on track. Childcare is going to be a big part of that. So we want to be ready. We want to kind of wave our hands and say, hey, region of Niagara, we're over here in West Lincoln and we don't have the appropriate services for our now growing community that is, you know, has a lot of young families in it. So it would be up to the region to help us or help the community get that coordinated, not necessarily an individual organization. And your second question was about the letter, and I did draft the letter that's in your agenda packages, the letter to the region, and not included in your packages was a letter separately to Councillor Woodavine, which would be a short, you know, 1 or 2 sentences, you know, please see the attached letter, because we do CC him in our letter that isn't in your agenda package. I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you, Councillor Bragg. Does that help out there, Councillor Yonker?
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for this? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's also myself, and that carries unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Broderick, for bringing that forward. Moving on to item A34-21, members of committee. Any verbal updates of members of boards or committees if required? Anybody have something to, Councillor Riley? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mentioned 2 things here. One is Councillor Woodavine is actually in the gallery, so he's expecting that email. So anyways, I just thought I would make that note there. And actually, no, the other item I can wait till Public Works. It's actually a recreation comment, so I'll save that for later.
Okay. I saw Councillor Yonker. Did you have your hand up there?
Yeah,
go ahead.
basically, I was just going to say that I know the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and I could, all of a sudden, because of work reasons, I couldn't make it that night. I don't know if I want to put Councillor Ganan on the spot, but we can also wait till I get the minutes as well. But they did meet. The West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce is still out there busy working, and yeah, there's some different people on the board, and it's I think a good run. It's going to be an exciting year ahead of us, and we got I think a well-run, committed team there. So, but if Cheryl Ganan, if you wanted to weigh in with what maybe happened at that meeting, we can wait till the minutes come out. But yeah, that's it for me.
Just briefly, members of council might want to know that we are going ahead, putting a committee together and trying to look at some kind of business awards. It won't be a mayor's luncheon as such, but certainly it will be put together that way. Since we don't know whether it's something virtually, the committee is just starting to look at that and put together some ideas. We certainly think that we need to be looking at some recognition for businesses who have managed to pivot, push through, change direction, whatever they've had to do. We need to acknowledge how hard this past while has been for them. And so we're looking to do that in the fall. So I think that was sort of the main thing that came out of the meeting, Councillor.
Okay, thank you there, Councillor Ganan. Anybody else? So moving on to item A3521, members of council, any other business items of an informative nature? Did you have your hand up there, Councillor? Oh, got Fire Chief Fisher. There you are. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. You might have seen in the paper the region's doing a consulting in regards to Next Gen 911 in regards to consolidated dispatch across the emergency services. So just to kind of give you a little bit of heads up or a little bit of background per se, because it involves not only consolidating, dispatch services, but it also gets into the P25 radio system, which the federal government is mandated to be in place in 2024. So we are in favor of consolidating dispatch services. Now, having said that, we're not going to have they're not going to have police dispatchers dispatching fire and fire dispatching police. It's basically trying to find efficiencies and maybe have all dispatch services under one roof, under one building. The CAO and myself had a meeting with Bill Forty from the Niagara Regional Police and Kevin Smith from EMS and our regional fire quarter to discuss some of the challenges that may come up with that, and and any concerns that West Lincoln might have. So that was good. The other thing I would like to say, and probably maybe some councillors are not aware, we did move to the P25 system 3 years ago. When it first came out, we bought in very early. We thought it was the right thing to do at the time, and it certainly made it communications and radio transmission about 300% better than what we had. So, having said that, I'm sure that you might have heard that there's a couple of municipalities in the region that are going to struggle moving forward and move to the P20 system by 2024 because of the cost wise. So just wanted to give you heads up on where we're at and what we've done. And so we're way ahead of the game. We're into the system already. Our radios have been in place for about 3 years now. And it's a great system. And the unfortunate part is everybody has to go to it by 2024. So just trying to give you a little bit of heads up on that if you've heard anything or any comments from the media or anything that you've read. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Chief Fisher. And I guess Rogers is back up. I heard there was a lot of 911 calls that weren't even going through today in the Toronto, Mississauga area. So, but Rogers is back functioning as of about half hour ago.
Oh, that's good.
That's good news. Thank you, Chief. Councilor Riley, did you have your hand up for something? Or?
No. You're muted.
Any other council's business items of an informative nature? Anything? Nothing? I think we do have an item of new business. I don't have it in front of me, Madam Clerk, or does somebody have, Councilor Riley has that, new item of business?
I do, Mr. Chair, that a new, so I'm introducing, so that a new item of business be introduced, being concerns, matters relating to virtual council and standing committee meetings. So I'll move that.
You saw that. I'm looking for a seconder for that. Councilor Ganan. All those in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Riley, go ahead.
So thank you. And thank you for everyone for supporting this. We got, actually, I'm sure we all have seen it now. We got an email through a concerned constituent regarding just how we're doing virtual meetings. And I guess I just wanted to have a wholesome discussion of just what maybe some of the expectations that we really didn't outline. I know we've never really done virtual meetings before the pandemic. And, I guess we're still trying to figure out where that is. And so I don't know, I don't really want to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that, but I kind of want to address one concern that I also had, which, I brought up with a member of council, which is, doing a council meeting while driving a motor vehicle. I guess we could put it that way. And I just like to express some concerns behind that, because again, I don't want this, I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Councillor Riley, I know you referred to an email. I'm just kind of confused. Can you give some more clarification for people?
So it was an email received today from, I think it's today, Stephen Ecker. He had sent an email regarding concerns he had noticed, and I had noticed as well. I think I made a comment at the beginning of the last committee meeting, and I wasn't sure if a particular councillor would be able to be in attendance, and they were, and I appreciate the enthusiasm and the devotion of making it happen. I just worry about, as we're trying to figure out what virtual looks like and where we go with it, that, we never once imagined, that we'd be in that situation. And I think, that's important to note, because, we're still figuring this out. And so I just wanted to express some concerns as well, as I had expressed previously, that no one's putting themselves in any kind of danger. I don't care how good of a driver you are. I just think even the messaging we're sending out to the community, it's always got to be, safety first. And so I don't want this to turn into a sandbagging situation by any means. And I don't even know if there's anything we can really pass or do to ensure that doesn't happen. I just think maybe in the future, if there's members that are commuting, if they really want to be part of the conversation or part of the meeting, that they may find a place to pull over or do so safely, so that we're not in a situation where maybe there's a liability if you were to get in an accident. I don't know. Again, we don't really want to have to cross that bridge when we get there. And I think, just kind of having it kind of discussed now freely, maybe is a good way to express some viewpoints. And maybe I'm the only one that feels this way. And that's, that's all right too. I just know that I don't want to have to be chairing a meeting myself and watch somebody, get sideswiped or roll their vehicle or whatever the situation might be, for the sake of a meeting that can easily be, missed. We make all these meetings, no one's going to hold someone or be upset with someone if they can't make every single meeting. If they miss one meeting here and there, that's not the end of the world. But I guess as far as a question that I'll ask to you, Mr. Chair, to maybe our CAO is, and again, I don't really mean to put everyone on the spot here, but I just trying to figure out is if council wanted to maybe put some parameters of like the setting. It's a really fuzzy situation we're in here, so I don't even know how to describe it, and I don't think any of us ever would imagine this would be a situation. But so through you, Mr. Chair, to our CEO, is that realistic? Is there anything in the provincial policy? Like I can't imagine this being defined in any capacity, but is that something that we could, as a council or a committee, could decide? I don't want to say the word appropriate location, because I feel like that can kind of be too specific, but is there a way to address this? Like meetings are held in a safe location? Like I don't really know. So I'd love to hear the CAO's feedback, in all honesty, first, and maybe we can continue the conversation from there.
Madam CAO, go ahead.
Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Riley. Until COVID, we have never been able to do virtual meetings. This has been something that has been requested for a very, very long time, but the government had never made the conditions appropriate through the regulations and legislation. So this is a first time. I think maybe one place that we could deal with this would be when we update our procedural bylaw. I don't think that we'll ever go back to necessarily, I think that in the future, there will be opportunities for people who are not well, or like they can't come into the office to be able to participate, or if they are in another place, they could still participate because we have the ability. So I think that that's something that we could definitely look at into the future. We don't really have we don't have any specific guidelines for this right now. I mean, one of the things that we've done is through the confidential settings, we've set in parameters about recognizing the confidentiality provisions, and that's been a practice. So that's an example.
Well, I appreciate that, because again, like we all sometimes, depending on the night and the agenda, every night's different. can get passionate and are talking if someone's having to shift and mute and do stuff in between. Like, again, I just want to make sure we're doing this, safely. It's a new area. We haven't really approached it. So I do appreciate that. Maybe that is something we need to consider moving forward with it. But, I just wanted to express a genuine concern for my fellow colleagues here. And even just thinking about future councils down the road and the situation they might be in. So anyways, that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Councilor Riley. Councilor Yonker?
Yeah, I appreciate the concern and the, but I do want to let it be known that basically the rule is handheld devices. And I definitely was the one that we're talking about here. I did reach out to the person who voiced his concern, and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the concern here too, but at the same time, it's handheld, it's hands-free. Otherwise I wouldn't have joined the meeting. And also he brought up the CB thing, and that's a truck driver's exemption. But I agree that there should be some safety things put in place, but at the same time, I figured I'd better defend myself here a little bit and explain that it's hands-free, right? So I'm driving down the road and I was talking to the phone that was on the dash and not touching it and not looking at it. And so I appreciate what is being said. And if we do want to make some parameters, that's fine. I do understand that, and I won't object to them, but I also feel I just do need to speak to what the concern was brought up, and just so that everybody understands, you are driving down the roads hands-free, and you're concentrating on driving first. And if I had been busy on the interstate in Arkansas, I would have not have been there. I would have, if I was on a 2-lane road, I would not have been at the meeting. But so, yeah, there was a couple things that came into play, and I was safely driving down the road. But at the same time, it was not unsafe. Otherwise I wouldn't have been at the meeting. So, but to say we need to put something in place to regulate it, that's the government has that already regulated, and I wasn't breaking the law, just right. So there's that balance. We've had it before with another person in a meeting doing the same thing. So it is one of those interesting things with what technology can do nowadays. So I'll leave it at that.
Councilor Riley?
And thank you. And thank you, Councilor Yonker. Like, I just want you to know too, so I come from a family of truck drivers. My grandfather's a truck driver. My uncle's a truck driver. My dad's a truck driver. So I totally get that. Honestly, probably some of the best drivers on the road are truck drivers. You're enduring everything. To me, it just seemed like a potential risk. And a lot of times, most accidents with truck drivers, from what I see, is usually the four-wheelers who are cutting them off or running into them. It's rarely the truck driver. And so I don't want you to feel that in any way was a direct target on your driving ability. Again, it was just more of a concern. And then it's a concern that you and I actually chatted about. You gave me a courtesy call saying you weren't sure if you're going to make the meeting. And I remember saying, like, if you can't make it, don't make it. Like, don't kill yourself by any means. And, I take great confidence that you understand your limitations. But again, it was just a matter of seeing that email. I'm like, okay, maybe I should have said something sooner as well, now that other people are reaching out with the similar concern. And I just thought we'd have a wholesome conversation of what that could look like. And in no way is this supposed to be an attack on your driving ability by any means. And if anything, again, to repeat myself, is, I appreciate the devotion to your responsibility as a counselor and every effort you're making. I just know it make me breathe a little easier knowing that you were in a area that wasn't moving around you, things that are happening. And sometimes we can get, fired up on certain topics. And again, it was just more genuine concern for your safety, as well as potential concern for what that could look like even for the municipality. So anyways, that's all I wanted to mention.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Riley. Is there anything else coming out of this for new business? Seeing nothing, so just for discussion. Other than that, there's nothing else, so I will adjourn the meeting at 7:41. Thank you. And are we staying on this, Roberta, for Councilor Riley to go to Public Works?
Yes, please, Mr. Chair.
Counselor Yonker, I mean, not Counselor Riley, sorry.
And as the chair of the next meeting, can I suggest that we take a quick 5-minute break and come right back?
Sounds good.
I need it.
And I apologize. I keep cutting out. So right now I'm on my wife's hotspot. So something's fishy here tonight with our internet. We're supposed to be getting a new dish on 2 days. So
Any change in the order of items on the agenda? Seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflicts of interest? Hearing or seeing none, there are no appointments. Clerk, do we have anybody that would like to, have we received any emails or correspondence from the public prior to 4:30 today that wish to provide comments?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing from an email standpoint, and
Okay.
I don't
Then
think
I
there's
don't think
anybody
we
in
need to read
attendance.
the, we don't need to read that whole part then in number 5. We'll move on to number 6. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial and can be approved by one resolution. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests it, in which case the item will be removed from the consent resolution and considered immediately following adoption of the remaining consult agenda items. And there's item PW 13-21, recommendation that the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee hereby approve the following consent agenda items. There are 2 items. Items 1 and 2 are B and are hereby received for information with the exception of items. And the 2 items are 1, West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes of March 12th, 2021, and information report rec-05-2021 regarding Canada Day 2001 COVID-19 update. Do I need a mover for that? Councillor Riley, seconder, Councillor Trombetta. Any items that wish to be pulled? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. And we move on to communication. Item PW 14-21, Kathy Segan, President of the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association, excuse me, open letter regarding open letter to ORFA members and industry employers, COVID-19 pandemic. The recommendation is that the open letter from Kathy Sheegan, President of the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association, received March 19th, 2021 regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and the vital role that recreation facilities professionals and recreation infrastructure, indoor and outdoor, play in our communities, and to recognize our recreation facility employees and thank them for their commitment and resilience to ensure safe and enjoyable recreational activities and spaces. Be received for information. I need a mover for that. Mayor Belsma, seconder, Councillor Riley, thank you. All those in support? All those in favor? And that carries. Now we can move on to staff reports. The first one is item PW 15-21 from project manager Ray Cacaron. Hopefully I said his name right there. Sorry, Ray. Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DiPaolo. And this is regarding recommendation report PW 06-2021 regarding Brock Street Water Main and Road Reconstruction Tender Award, PW 2021-01. So the recommendation is 1, that report PW 06-2021 regarding Brock Street water main and road reconstruction tender award dated April 12th, 2021 be received, and that council awards the tender submission to Stonecast Contracting Limited for the water main and road construction work in the amount of $879,022, excluding HST, and that a project contingency allowance in the amount of $50,000 be provided for this project, and that the engineering agreement with the consulting firm of Associated Engineering Ontario Limited be extended to include contract administration and inspection services of $65,000, excluding HST, with the engineering fees being calculated on a time plus disbursement basis, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Stonecast Contracting Limited. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Ganand, seconder, sorry. Councillor Bradrick. Is there any questions from committee? I see Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Director DePaula. Stonecast Contracting, I read the bidders list. It seems like the rest are pretty much local companies. I haven't heard of this company. Are they local or are they from out of town?
Yeah.
Through the chair to Councillor Trombetta, they're out of the Stony Creek area, out of Hamilton area. I don't have much experience working with them, but they have done some similar projects, and they are using some local contractors as their subs.
Okay, so is it so through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. DePaul, so this is a relatively new company, I guess, coming in, or?
Not through the chair to Councillor Trombetta. I would say it's a new company working in our region, in the Niagara region, but they do have some experience in Hamilton, and once again, some of their subcontractors are local contractors.
Okay, thank you for that update, Mr. Director.
Any other questions or comments from committee? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 8.2. Item PW 16-21, a recommendation that report PW 07-2021 regarding 2021 road rehabilitation project tender award, PW 2021-02, dated April 19th, 2021 be received, and that number 2, that council awards a tender submission to Anthony's Excavating Central Inc. for the road rehabilitation work in the amount of $971,653.95, excluding HST. And number 3, that the hard topping of Concession Road be extended from Admington Road to Caister Center Road at an estimated cost of $275,000, excluding HST, based on the unit prices submitted by the low bidder, to be approved as budget amendment BA 2021-03, and that a project contingency allowance in the amount of $129,193.74 be provided for this project. And number 5, that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Anthony's Excavating Central Inc. Do I have a mover for that? The mayor, and seconded by Councillor Ganand. I think at this time, I would just like the director to maybe explain a little bit what you explained to me at our pre-agenda meeting there about this bid, and I think the good news that we have from this, Mr. Paulo.
Through the chair of the committee, if you look at Appendix B in the report, the budget for the hard topping of concession 5, the budget that was passed in 2021 was about 630,000. And when we looked at the road at a project level and put together the items for this contract, and aggressive bids, since we tendered the job early in the season, a lot of contractors are hungry to secure work. We received some good prices. So the hard topping of concession 5 that was approved in the budget from Westbrook to Abingdon ends up being around 300,000. So there's surplus funds in that account. So in our 10-year forecast, we were going to do the rest of concession 5 from Abingdon heading to Caster Center in the 2022 budget. So there's enough money in the approved 2021 budget to just carry on and finish the rest of concession 5. So that's what that budget amendment is for, just to kind of extend the unit prices of the contract and get the entire section of concession 5 done as part of the funds that were approved this year.
Good. I appreciate that. And I think our township residents will appreciate that as well, especially out there. I did see a hand there, Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple comments through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Director. That's actually some good news. You know, the one section that was from Abingdon to Westbrook would be in Tartan Ship, and then we'd leave out that section between Caster Center and Abingdon. And then, you know, this does alleviate all those people wondering why a middle section is not completed and the section between Abingdon and Westbrook is completed. So that is good news, especially for those residents who have been long awaited this street. So good work on that, and can't wait to see that project off the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Riley, I see your hand up. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the director, but I have a couple questions here, so I'll go back. But one, I was kind of curious. To me, like looking at some of the details here, it almost looks like we're getting twice the road for what we had budgeted for. And so I was just kind of curious if you had any idea what the large contingency adjustment was here in terms of why are we getting so much more road for what we originally budgeted? And I say that, you know, obviously thrilled, because I think anytime we can stretch our dollar better and get more for it in return is great. But I just kind of surprised that we're able to get double the road coverage as well. I'm kind of curious, that section of road that's being done. I agree. I don't think we should just have middle roads. I kind of think if we're going to do it, let's do it right. But at the same time, I'm kind of wondering where that little section of road fell on our roads needs study, as you know, from what I recall, and I don't remember everything detail by detail, but I believe there was some roads that needed repairing and updating in other wards, and you know, even throughout Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 3 that were slated to next year. And I'm just kind of wondering, is the idea to go forward with it because the rate's better, because it's all kind of one, it's going to be perceived as almost like one straight road versus having them kind of split in different neighborhoods? So maybe you can answer those two questions. That'd be awesome. Thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Riley. Let's start with the last question first. Yeah, it's much easier to extend the unit prices in a contract when you're just continuing work on the same section of road. If you try to include other sections in other areas of the town, then the contractor is going to ask for, you know, mobilization costs and stuff like that. So it's much easier just to extend the unit prices and get the just expand the limits of the existing road that they're working on. Your first question, yeah, we were pleasantly surprised as well when we budgeted for that work to hard top concession 5 in 2021. I think our strategy to hard top that road was a different pavement treatment. We were going to look at using a recycled asphalt, it's called a wrap, as a base, and then a single surface treatment. And you know, to be honest, first time we're doing something like this, so we had a pretty hefty contingency in there just to kind of cover off some unknowns. When we were putting together the tender document, we just had a project level analysis. We determined that it would be appropriate just to do a double application of surface treatment rather than applying that wrap. It'll provide the same type of lifespan. So it was a more, you know, just a difference between budget level and project level estimating. So hope that answers your question. And again, now that we've actually tendered a job, we're able to refine our budgets in the forecast for these types of work.
Excellent. No, thank you very much. Actually, Mr. Chair, if I could ask you a question. And so I'm going to be, I don't obviously know Ward 1 nearly as well as I know my own ward. And so I do recall seeing some chatter on social media where people were actually upset because the other side of the road was getting done. Am I to understand that this is the other side of the road to what those residents were concerned about, why their road wasn't being done, but down the street was? Is this kind of like full circle now?
Are you asking Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, I'm asking you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, yeah, that is.
Sorry. My apologies. Actually, I forgot.
I'm not sharing this meeting, Councilor Riley. I don't know if
You're in the same spot. I am so sorry, Mr. Chair. So my question is actually through you to Councilor Trombetta, but you're welcome to answer too, Mr. Chair. Sorry about that.
Yes. So what Council Director DePaula was saying was, this is a stretch. This is an extension stretch. So what happened was, the way it was, because we like Tart and Chip was from Abingdon Road to Westbrook Road on concession 5. It was, and now what was going to be left out was the middle section between Caister Center Road and Abingdon. So think about it. It goes Caister Center, Abingdon, Westbrook is the border of Hamilton. So what happened was that middle stretch was going to be left out. That first stretch was going to be completed, and then possibly budget approval next year was, of course, the roads needs study was going to be done next year. So what this does now is it completes that completed stretch of concession 5 and saves some of the questions that we're wondering, because I did receive questions from constituents wondering why you don't start from, let's say, the east side and work your way back to the west side, but we're working our way back to west to east. So anyways, the good news that it's completing it all. Hope that answers your question, Councilor Riley.
Guys, I think there are going to be a lot of happy.
And I can just add to that as well. Basically, what we're going to, as the director had told me at the pre-meeting, is this basically is these 2 projects were going to be done this year and then next year. So we're excited to have the potential to move all our 10-year plan that we had for the hard road that came out of that studies, the road knee studies. We might most likely be able to bump everything up a year, which is a good thing. And but at the same time, the director and the staff will look at things and come with some recommendations next year that maybe we're actually a year ahead. We can do this instead of do this. So it gives us some flexibility, and it's good flexibility. So that 10-year hard surfacing plan that we had seen on the road study is now almost, it's basically a 9-year road, 9-year plan instead of 10 years. So that's what I mean. That's why I was pretty excited to hear that from our director when he said, hey, we can get 2 done. This is it's pretty exciting. And it's also nice to see that it's a local company that's doing well and does great work. So looking forward to seeing that done. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, we can, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Moving on to 8.3, item PW 17-21, that report PW-08-2021 regarding West Lincoln Community Center Bandshell, the Canadian Summer Games Design Build RFP Award, Budget Amendment BA 2021-20, dated April 19th, 21, be received, and that council awards the design build projects to Duamax Developments Limited for the design build of the Bandshell in the amount of $120,000 excluding HST, and that council approves a project contingency in the amount of $18,000 for this project. And number 4, that council hereby approves the budget amendment, that's BA 2021-02, in the amount of $45,000 funded from the facility reserve. And 5, that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Duamax Developments Limited. I have a mover for that. Councillor Riley, seconded by Councillor the Mayor. Any questions or comments? I don't know, Mr. Director, did you want to maybe say something at the beginning or, well, yeah, is there any questions or comments? We'll start there. Okay, seeing none, I think we'll just call it. Is everyone in favor? Does that carry? It passes, yes. Good, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8.4, item PW 18-21. Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DiPaolo, regarding the wind project tree replacement program. So the recommendation is that report PW-10-2021 regarding wind project tree replacement program dated April 19th, 2021 be received, and that council endorses the protocol process outlined in this report to undertake the tree replacement program. I need a mover, and I see Councillor Ganand and Councillor Bradrick as seconder. Thank you. Any questions or comments? I see the mayor and then Councillor Ganand. So Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
So really pleased that we're making some progress on this file. It has been one of those kind of carryovers from the previous term, and it's been a bit of a difficult file to resurrect. And so I'm just really appreciative. I know that's going to be received with a little bit of maybe a bit of a tongue-in-cheek congratulations from the community, but nevertheless, I think, and we understand some of the, we totally get it. But the fact that we're, advancing this, I think is great. It's about time, and hopefully we can get some these trees that have been quote unquote hanging around in the ground. So thank you to staff for moving this forward. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Ganand, you go ahead.
Similarly, that's about all I wanted to say too, that I'm very glad to see the end of this. Thank you to our CAO and to our director for seeing this to completion. People are not all going to be happy, but we are very happy that we've reached a sort of final stage of this, and let those trees start growing. Thank you.
Yeah. If you don't mind, Mr. Director, can I just ask you to explain what you did talk to me about a little bit there, so that the public hears kind of how it's going to work and what they can do, and yeah, obviously there will be some communication coming out, but just give a little bit of an update what you're doing there. I think that's kind of good for public to see that tonight.
Yes, through the chair to the committee. So basically we have a pot of, there's a bunch of trees that were removed as part of the wind project on the road allowance. So we have a pot of money, and we have a tree inventory, and we're aware of how many trees were removed across each property owner. And there's a ratio, right? For every tree that was removed, we should be planting X amount of trees depending on the diameter of the tree. So in order to kind of meet the obligation of the tree clause or the tree planting clause in the road use agreement, we're going to send letters to the 62 property owners that were kind of affected to see if they have any interest in planting trees on private property. So that's the first step. And there's a draft letter that's attached to a report that we're going to send out to those property owners. And as we hear back from those property owners, what we're going to do is put out a pre-qualification and get a bunch of nurseries and contractors that are kind of pre-qualified to plant trees. Because as you can imagine, there's going to be a number of trees that have to be planted on 62 properties, private properties, and it's kind of unmanageable for one contractor to do. So as a property owner reaches out to us and says, yes, we would like to have our 50, 60, 100 trees, whatever they're entitled to, we're going to have a roster list of landscapers and nurseries that could undertake this work. And we'll just kind of reach out to the first contractor on the list, and you go plant trees on this person's property, and we'll try to share the work equally with everyone on this roster list. A lot of municipalities do that. I think it's the most appropriate way to get this done in a timely manner. So I hope that summary is useful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, sounds like there's got to be a lot of planning done. So this summer will be a good year for trees. So good to see this finally moving forward. And thank you for bringing that forward. So, okay. So that was 8.4. We need to vote on that. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Bev is happy to see that carry too. One of those projects that's been a lot of work, and seeing it kindly come to fruition is exciting. Okay, moving on to 8.4. Item PW 19-21, Manager of Operations Steve McQueen, and Director of Public Works and Recreation Mike DiPaolo. Recommendation is the amendment to budget, and that report PW-11-2021 regarding tender PW 05-2021 truck replacement authorization budget amendment dated April 15th, 21 be received, and 2, that council hereby approves budget amendment BA 2021-04 of $6,000 for a total budget of $46,000 to be funded through a transfer from the equipment reserve. And number 3, that council accepts the tender submission from Blue Mountain Chrysler Limited in the amount of $43 and $43,659 plus HST and $1,500 for equipment to be installed for a final total of $46,000. I need a mover for that. Did I read that right? Any mover? Mayor Bilsma, and seconded by Councillor Bradrick. Thank you. Any questions or comments? I think it's straightforward. Seeing none, all those in support? And that carries. Thank you. Item 8.6, item PW 2021. Manager of Operations again, as well as Director of Public Works. And recommendation is that report PW-09-2021 regarding 2021 to 2023 dust control tender authorization dated April 19th, 2021 be received, and 2, that council accepts the tender submission from Daily Dust Control in the amount of $432.48 in 2021, $445.54 in 2022, and $468.38 in 2021 per flake ton plus HST to a maximum of $120,000 including HST per year for the application of liquid dust suppression. Wow. Dust control to gravel roads for dust control for the 3-year term of 2021, 22, and 23. And 3, that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into agreement with D. Lee Dust Control and the Township of Wainfleet. I need a mover for that. Councillor Gannon and Councillor Trombetta. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Riley, your hand first, and then I see Councillor Gannon. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we've seen this year and year again. I'm again, just kind of, I guess we haven't seen it every year. We're doing this for the next 3 years, but I believe I remember seeing something in a report last year as well about the costs around this. And I just thought, it's important to bring up too. And I've mentioned this before, there's certain costs that we have in each ward. And I think it's important to highlight when we hear people from the community who talk about, I don't get anything from my taxes and this and that. And this is one of those things. It's not a sexy purchase by any means, but it is certainly money that's going back that's, allocated through our public works department. When we, have $2.5 million public works budget or whatever, close to that, 85% of that's going to the rural community. And these are some of those purchases I kind of go unseen. I realize everybody wants, beautiful roads, and I want a beautiful road. I live in the urban area and I don't have a beautiful road. And so I think it's important to bring that up because, when I've talked about before about the extra tax that the Ward 3 residents have to pay, again, we're trying to be one and the same. And I certainly hope that we can start to work towards achieving that, because this, again, is something that we're all sharing the cost on. And I hope, my rural councilors are going to eventually see the same thing for the Ward 3 councilors, the urban center as well one day, because this is, again, something we're on one municipality, we're all working together. I'll support this. I have no problem supporting this. I think it's important to support, but I think this is one of those not so sexy purchases we have to do, to maintain, the dust control and all the other things that come to the community that easily get forgotten about or not recognized. So I just wanted to make that comment clear.
Yeah, thank you for the comment there. Councillor Gannan, I seen your hand up as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with what Councillor Riley had to say, but that wasn't what I wanted to say. What I wanted to point out, just in case, it was sort of slipped in at the end, that this was in conjunction with the Township of Wainfleet. And I think that's really important to give credit to our Public Works department, that they do seek these opportunities to get a better price on items when they put go in conjunction with Wainfleet, for example, in this case, and go together so that the escalation of the amount that's needed allows us to have a better price. And so I know it was part of the resolution, but I think that if anybody watches this, I really think that it's important to point out that work is being done with other municipalities to try to save costs in West Lincoln. So thank you.
Yep, I appreciate you for pointing that out. I don't know if Director, if you wanted to just quickly comment on that, but I think it's self-explanatory. But yeah, we definitely, as residents, township, it's good to see when we can work together to save stuff. But yeah, you know what, like just maybe explain that a little bit. Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, through the chair to the rest of the committee. Yeah, whenever there's an opportunity to do joint vendors and joint purchases, we always do that. Sometimes we buy trucks together with other municipalities, and this is another good example. Just procuring dust control with other municipalities is another example. So we try to do that as much as possible and collaborate with municipalities all the time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, as chair too, thanks for doing stuff like that. It definitely, anywhere we can save money on bulk, it's a good way to do business. So appreciate that. Good. I guess I call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Item PW. So we're moving to 8.7. Item PW 2021. Manager of Arena Parks and Facilities, Bob Dyson. Wow, I'm sorry, Bob. And Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DePaulo. Dennison. All right. Recommendation 1, that report REC, so Rec-06-2021 regarding Casterville Library Playground request for proposal authorization dated April 19th, 2021 be received, and that council awards the request for proposal submission by Play Power in the total amount of $70,428.32 plus HST, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into agreement with Power Play. Do I have a mover for that? Mayor Bylsma, and the seconder, Councillor Gannan, thank you. Any questions or comments? I see Councillor Riley, your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess through you to the Director of Public Works, I'm actually quite impressed. the illustration that's been provided, is that actually what we're gonna see for the $70,000?
Through the chair to Councillor Riley, yeah, that's a conceptual image of the playground facility, correct?
Okay, 'cause I say that because, I'm part of the parent council for our local school here in Smithville Public. And we've been in the process of working with the school board and trying to get, at the new school there, a playground system. And the money that we've been working is almost twice that value for something maybe pretty close to this. So I'm very impressed to see that came in that way. And that's exactly what it's going to look like, because I was expecting that to be double that price. I thought when I saw the $80,000, I thought you guys were going to get maybe, I would say, close to 40% of that structure, not the whole thing there. So I think, I don't know if that was just what you guys put out as a request and these people just met it, or if they brought the conception forward with the budget in mind. But however that goes, I'm very impressed to see that, because I think that's going to be an excellent little structure. But it's not even so little; it's actually quite a good size. So I'll fully support this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Gannon, I see your hand up there. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's been my experience that when these companies are dealing with school boards, it makes a big difference. So I think that you best keep your dollar figures in mind, Councillor Riley, when the school is looking at doing something. It seems to be a different standard based on the age groups that would be using it, and based on the number of children who potentially would be using it. So, and the fact that it's a school board, I think. So don't drop your expectations, is what I'm saying, in terms of how much money you're going to have to spend. And this is delightful for the cost, for sure. I also liked it.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to number 9.1. Other business, item PW 22-21, members of council, other business items of an informative nature. And I see 2 hands up. I will go with Councillor Bradrick. And then after that, Councillor Riley has his hand up. So
I see Councillor Bradrick's shaking a no. So
I'm sorry.
I didn't have my hand up, sir.
Okay.
So
okay, there you go.
Perfect. I'll be quick with this. I was going to mention this last time. I figured it was appropriate to mention this meeting here. I wanted to thank the director and all the recreational staff for the Easter program that they put out there. Our family was able to wait in line and got our turn to pick our bag, and the kids had a blast with it. So I know sometimes these kind of get forgotten about. And also to our CEO and other staff member, if you guys can relay that, I believe it was pretty well received. Now, unfortunately, we didn't take part as much in the March break or April break week. I've heard really good feedback from it, but again, thank you guys. I know everyone's doing the best they can to make the most of the times we're going through, but I thought this would be an appropriate time to kind of pay those kudos forward. So thank you guys for everything you're doing, and for staff as well.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Riley, for bringing that up. Yes, staff. Definitely, it's been challenging times with COVID and even dealing with the public, right? Public's getting frustrated, and why is this not going? And it's been a challenging time, and hopefully we can, see this end sometime. But anyways, any other councillors? Seeing none. Any new business? Item 10, no. Seeing no new business. Any confidential matters? Seeing none. I guess I can adjourn this meeting at 8:24. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you guys. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, everyone.